All right, hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Majmoura.
And I'm Hera.
And this is episode 43 of The Town Center, your podcast dedicated to all things Age of Empires. In today's show, the new DLC, The Last Chieftains, has now been released, so it's time to give the first impressions on all the new civilizations and new units. It's a lot of information to take in all at once, we know, so we'll do our very best to condense it as much as possible. Then we'll take a look at the Titans League and update you on all the results. Later in the show, we'll be joined by Grubby and hear his thoughts on the state of our game, now that he's been grinding like a madman ahead of the 1v7 show match against Hera. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support us further, please do consider a donation. Link will be in the description box down below. Thank you very, very much. All right, Hera, before we get going, I just want to say that it's the small things, I really appreciate the solidarity. People have been making fun of me having laundry in the background. So I really appreciate the gesture of you just putting some laundry behind your background as well, just make me feel more welcome here in the show. It's the little things. I appreciate that so much.
It's a great way to start the episode. And listen, I have a bed sheet behind me for those not caught up to the lore. And the funny thing about this is that I spent like a good amount of money on this because before I had a tarp that came with the apartment, which was very cheap, had holes in it. People were complaining about it all the time. So I went to go buy something solid. And I swear I came back with the biggest smile on my face. I was going to put it up there. I thought people would love it. And as soon as I had it, everyone's like, is that a bed sheet? What's going on? Iron it at least. It's so bad. Why is it wrinkly? Yeah. Everybody hated it.
That's too many wrinkles. Yeah, to stretch it. I don't know if you have the opportunity. You need to stretch it a little bit. So I don't know.
Here's the thing. I bought the biggest size because I didn't normally like real construction men or like handymen, which I'm not, do measurements around the house. They got the pencil in their ear and everything. They go to the store. They know exactly what they want to buy. I just bought the biggest size. I thought bigger is better. I'll size it later. It's way too big. So, but it's okay. I like it, and that's what matters to me. So.
It's an upgrade. Listen,
Yes.
It's an upgrade. That's what I'll say. It's an upgrade.
That's
so,
good.
step by step, you'll get there, All right. Let's talk about the new DLC, Hera. New DLC. This past Tuesday, the latest DLC for Age of Empires 2 has been released. This one is titled The Last Chieftains and focuses on South America, bringing with it 3 new civilizations, the Mapuche, the Muisca, and the Tupi. And Hera, we'll be talking about the specifics of each civilization in just a minute, but before we do it, I'd like to hear from you like a general take on the whole thing. You were very skeptical in previous episodes because you thought you were too many units, too many changes. So now that you got to play it a little bit, have those doubts been somewhat dissipated, or on the contrary, have they been exacerbated? Where's your head at?
So I think my doubts with the new DLC have always been that they're just introducing too many new things for every civ. Like for me, the beauty of Age of Empires 2 is that every civ more or less feels the same to play, but they just have different options and small details that you have to keep in mind as a player to optimize your choices. I love civs to have options, but I want those options to be more or less generic units with certain stat differences or like upgrades missing or upgrades extra, rather than just having your own set of unique units that only you have and no one else has. Because that's something more along the lines of like how civs are different in Age of Empires 4. They're all like very unique. And I just get the feeling that Microsoft is taking ideas from AoE 4 and AoE 3 and then bringing them to our game. And I really think it clouds the simplicity that Age of Empires 2 has always been known for. So with that said, unfortunately, my concerns were kind of true. Every new civ has so many different options, so many different units, different buildings. And the game just feels so different to play with them. Like when the DLC first came out the first day, I literally got a headache in 4 hours of gameplay because I was just thinking so much. It was all like so different to me. Not a single generic unit that was on the field, right?
Don't you see a positive sign in that too, though? It allows for more strategic variety. It allows for people to try new stuff that it's not completely new. And, you hear people all the time say the meta is stale. You can agree or disagree with that. But having more units certainly, expands the horizon, so to speak. Would you see that?
Yeah, I totally see that perspective, to be honest. Like, no, I don't feel very strongly about my position here. It's just like, personally, I don't like to have like only different options for certain civs. But I can definitely see the point of like, we already have so many knight civs. We already have so many archer civs. Having civs with like brand new units or like unique options does make sense. And they've done like cool things by making the Slinger like a trash unit for these like South American civs, which is interesting. So I can see both sides to it. But personally, I just feel like there's too many new things for each of these civs that they feel vastly different than playing any of the other ones. And like right now, if you look at the rank ladder between the 5 new Chinese civs and these 3 new civs, there's 8 Civs that are so foreign to the game. That's the feeling I get. The other 45 do one thing, and then these 8 do like their own thing. And it's interesting, but my thoughts are it's a little too much. But it's been fun. It's been
I'll
fun to try
I'll
out.
100% agree that it feels like the changes are getting extremer and extremer. I remember the
Yes.
days where the Hofnitzer was like, what, an upgrade to the BBC? And now you have units that slow down other units and pass through it
Yeah.
and that kind of crap. So I totally see it. Personally, as someone who does not depend on the civs being well balanced to enjoy the game, and of course you do, and pros do, so I totally understand it. For someone who's just having fun on the ladder, I love it personally.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
know even if something is broken, it's unlikely that I'll lose a game because of it. Because there's always such a lack
Yeah.
of good execution. So for me, that's not a problem. But I totally see it. Now, Hera, you spoke about you getting a headache just a day ago or 2 days ago on stream, and I did see you were getting a bit frustrated. It looked like with one strategy in particular that's been making the rounds a lot within Civs, which is the infinite, so to speak, Champi Rush in Dark Age. So the Champi Warrior is one of the new units that's been introduced. So why is this such a problem? Is it a problem? Is it OP? Needs to be fixed? Talk about why is it a problem and does it need to change?
Yeah, so the Champi Warrior Rush, for those that don't know, the Champi is basically a mix of like an Eagle Scout or like an Eagle Warrior and a Militia. It replaces the Militia line for these South American Civs, and they also threw in Incas in there. So the 3 new Civs and Incas. And the reason why it's so problematic is that people have just realized that in Dark Age, this unit is very spammable, it scales well into Feudal Age, and it just overperforms anything else you can make in Dark Age. It's way better than Militia because of the movement speed.
Mhm.
Militia, if they come to your base and you see them and you're unprepared, you can run your villagers, and the Militia cannot chase your villagers. This is very important because then at most you might lose one vill due to a poor reaction time, but then you're good to go. Whereas the Champi Warriors, they can actually chase down your villagers. So if you get caught off guard by Champies and they get to your base, you're losing 2 or 3 villagers, which is a game losing disadvantage. I actually lost the
Mm.
game in like 4 minutes to Kasva
I
because
saw it.
I was
You
taking
didn't want to have
chickens.
more of it.
Yeah, exactly. I was just taking chickens with 3 vills like any other civ. He comes with 3 champions. I lose all 3 vills, and the game is effectively over. It's like it's not even like a rage quit. It's just this game is completely over. So the rush also has more to it though. Like Phosphorus has been testing, and some others like Survivalists, and even myself have been testing the Infinite Dark Age with Champion Warriors, and it
Mhm.
reminds me of the Goths on one patch that just spam Militia. And the
The
reason
what
why
was it? They were cheaper in Dark Age, I believe. Right? No, wait, they're still a cheaper in Dark Age. But what was the difference?
I think they were like with the militia back then. They were like extra cheap in Dark Age, and there was extra damage on against buildings from the Goths. It was not like
Mm-hmm.
staggered; it was just like one shot, which was way too strong. And we're seeing something exactly the same from Champion. It's a very similar situation. Champion Warriors have I think +3 against buildings in Dark Age. So we're seeing people just go up to like 10 or 15 Champion Warriors in Dark Age and killing houses, killing lumber camps, killing mills. And if your opponent gets to archers, you might think that's a good counter because archers move faster than militia. The champions move faster than archers.
They
And so
have
it's
plus
just,
2 pierce. They have 2 pierce, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So 2 pierce armor more than a militia, and they move faster than archers. So the unit ends up just being way too strong overall. Now, here's my take. I don't think it's that strong of a unit for anything past Dark Age. It's actually a good, well balanced unit past Dark Age, but clearly the Dark Age has to be addressed. There's ideas of making it like longer production time in Dark Age,
Mm-hmm.
either more expensive, maybe lose an attack and get +1 bonus damage against scouts, something like that. Something to nerf it in Dark Age.
Mm-hmm. Easy solutions for complex problems are usually wrong, but here's what I'm thinking, and you tell me what I'm getting wrong here. If the guy, because from the rushes I've been seeing, the guys, they go for barracks straight away, right? So they make the Champion Warriors very early on. So isn't the counter to that to just say, let me make Loom? I know it's not ideal for my build order, but you make Loom, and the guy is already delaying himself like crap because he's making the militia so early. Oh, sorry, the champion so early. So isn't Loom an answer to that? An answer to that? Not saying it fixes everything, but
Yeah, I think you're actually right. So, like, I know that sounds simplified, like you mentioned earlier, but it's actually very good because if you're caught without Loom, you're dead most of the time. But with Loom, the Champion Warriors only have 35 HP compared to a militia with 40. So, in theory, no matter how fast he's running around, if he comes to fight you, you fight back. You will like kind of
you could
work
do
him
well
down
with
and
villagers, I think. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you eventually win the fight. There's 2 problems with that, though. Number one, if he doesn't do the militia, which you can't scout, or if he doesn't do the early barracks, you can't scout it.
Interesting.
You're wasting Loom, so you're down 1 vill. Not the end of the world. It's if that's like a fine concession. but it's also the Champion Warriors can just prevent you from luring deer. They can no, they can't kill your chickens, but they can take your boars. They can hit houses. So there's always like value that they can get. It's like in worst
Mm.
case for the Champion Warrior, he's forcing his opponent to get loom, and he's also denying him deer lures and potential boar lures. And if that's the worst case, I mean, it sounds like a good strat to me, you know?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I did see one game where the guy was laming a boar with one Champi Warrior, then he was attacking your chicken villagers with another one. I didn't think about that. It can just lame in multiple places, which makes it so hard
Yes.
to counter, right? And to react to.
And
Totally
on top
see
of
it,
that,
yeah.
something that was crazy that happened to me. He lured a boar. He stole a boar with one of his Champion Warriors, and
It
I
was
went to send
blocking
my
the other way.
scout. I saw him blocking the boar with the other Champion Warrior. And then when my scout got close, he fought my scout. So it was like
Yeah.
an unstoppable boar steal. I've never seen anything like it. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
what
It's
are you gonna do?
phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like most people are coming to the agreement potentially that just nerfing the creation time is probably the way to go, right? I see at its core, Hera. I don't know if you agree, but at its core, the problem with the unit is that it tries to be too many things at once. So it tries to be a scout, so it needs to be fast, right? It tries to be an eagle warrior, so it needs to have a lot of pierce armor. And then it tries to be a militia at the same time, because otherwise you have no units in Dark Age and you have no infantry. And it's just too many things that the unit is trying to do at the same time, and balancing for all of those aspects is just too difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm not surprised they got it wrong at first.
Yeah, I agree. I think your assessment's spot on, and I think it's even now that we've identified that it's a problem, it's going to be hard to actually balance it in a way that it keeps that identity of being like an eagle, a scout, and a militia. So I'm curious to see what they do, but yeah, it's definitely a balancing challenge, and as it stands, it's definitely very hard to face in Dark Age at the moment.
Yeah, all right. So I'd like to get into specific civilization stuff and stuff that we talked about when we thought could have been broken, and I'd like to hear an assessment of whether they really are broken or not necessarily. And I'd like to start with the Mapuche. MVL was flabbergasted when we told them that settlements would be able to make skirmishers and spear. And we now know that the settlements only cost 125 wood, so that's quite cheap in my opinion. They replace all mining camps, all mills. So is it balanced? Because the thing that they do, the trade-off is that they create 50% slower, if I'm not mistaken. So the training time is much slower than if you would make them from a barracks or from an archery range. Is that enough to balance it? Or not really.
So first off, I just want to say the settlements are good. They're not broken, but every civ that has a settlement, you have an inherent advantage of your opponent because the settlements just give really good value. All right. Now for the Mapuche specifically, making spears and skirms, I haven't been able to test it correctly because spears and skirms don't do well against civilizations that have Champi Warriors. Champi Warriors always destroy spear skirm strategies, and I tried it didn't work. However, I personally think that the Mapuche is playing against any civ that doesn't have Champi Warriors. I think that strategy is still absolutely amazing. Like you just go standard opening, 2 settlements, you just start spamming skirmishers. You either play defensive or you make a 3rd settlement and you play aggressive. You could even send villagers forward for a tower rush, make a settlement forward, and continue to play aggressive from there. And what really makes it strong is the fact that you make them from the settlement, so you don't need to make a barracks, you don't need to make a range. So you get insane early game savings. And on top of that, they get extra HP on both units. So those double stacking bonuses are incredible.
40 HP Skirm, isn't it? 40 HP Skirm.
35 in Feudal Age, 40 in Castle, 45 in M. And then, sorry, in Castle Age, it's actually 45 because it's the Elite Skirm as well. So, yeah, it's quite ridiculous. It's really strong.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if the training time is enough because you can easily have 2 settlements producing. Right, so you can say that the training time is slower, but then again, if you were making skirms, you probably would start with 1 archery range. Here, if you already make 2 settlements anyway in Dark Age, you're going to be producing from 2 anyway. And then you can even choose to go forward and make more units from the forward settlement if you want to do it. Yeah.
It really snowballs.
Yeah, I saw Doubt testing it, and he was like, yeah, this is broken. He was playing it like if it was Byzantines back in the day, he said, yeah, this is broken. There's no chance it's not broken.
Yeah, I haven't tested myself, like I said, because I got kind of unlucky with the matchups. I only played Champion Warriors, then I played Mapuches.
Didn't get to Feudal Age. You were dead in Dark Age all the time.
Exactly. But I was feeling like the power in theory, and it just feels really strong. The only downside to it is that you need to get eco upgrades first, so it's a bit slow to start if you want eco upgrades. If you're playing like an all-in rush, you skip the economy upgrades, then your settlements are free to make military from the start, which is really powerful, of course.
Okay, so then the Mapuche also have the Bolas Rider, the Bolas Rider, and these are units like cavalry archers, I'll say, and they have bonus against cavalry, which is very new. We haven't that before. It has a charge attack that slows units, and it's pretty fast. So it's faster than a cavalry archer, but doesn't get husbandry. What's your take on the unit? Because a lot of people saying potentially broken.
Yeah, the Bolas Rider is probably one of the best units in the entire game right now. It's certainly the best unit out of the DLC. The only thing that comes close is the Champi Warrior in Dark Age, but like the Bolas Rider is like clearly a way too overtuned. Like the worst part about it is just how fast it moves. So like because they don't have husbandry, the devs made this unit really fast. But it's too fast. It's actually faster than a cavalry with husbandry, I believe. It's like incredible. It's like a Shravamsha Rider, it feels.
It's faster than one without husbandry. With husbandry, the cavalry archer is very slightly. So I believe it's 150 for the Bolas Rider, and I believe it's 154, if I'm not mistaken, for the cavalry archer after husbandry. So it's almost the same, very, very little, but it's clearly faster before husbandry.
Okay, interesting. So for me, it felt faster in testing, but it's good to get the correct numbers there. But yeah, not needing husbandry makes it like really strong out the gate, and the unit itself is like very, very strong against pretty much everything. And then the charge attack, getting like extra damage every now and then on cavalry are just always going to be good. Like we saw that with the Champi Raiders, they were really strong with the charge attack. Same thing here with the Bolas Riders. It's not particularly a mechanic I like. I don't like cavalry getting charge attacks because that lets them abuse the hit and run like crazy. But you know, fair enough. The unit is definitely still insanely strong. Probably the best unit from the DLC.
You saw it with the Xanbei Rider, right? With the charge attack and how, at least at my level, it felt totally broken. Okay, so let's move on to the Muisca. Settlements heal nearby units. And I believe this is pretty strong because, again, if you go for one of those endless Champi Warrior rushes, you could just move back the ones that have been hurt. You can heal them a little bit, and then suddenly you have just a huge amount, of them. So what do you make of the Muisca, specifically with the Champi Warriors?
So like the settlement healing, it sounds nice, but in my opinion, you could just use the town center with any other civ. So it's not the craziest thing in my opinion.
Okay.
It would be crazy if it was given to a civ that has cavalry, but I think the Muiscas have no cavalry. That being said, it's still a nice bonus. But I think the Muiscas are solid in their own right, probably the weakest out of all three civs. But they've got one unit that I think has a lot of potential, which is the Temple Guard. I think the Temple Guard is really strong stat-wise. I think that guy's got a lot of potential, especially when you have the Champi Warrior against archers and then like the Temple Guard against anything melee. I think it can end up being a really dangerous civ with that combo.
Yeah, so the Temple Guard, if I'm not mistaken, they have 100 HP in Castle Age, 12 attack, so they can beat a knight, and they have attack bonus against knights. I believe I've seen that the elite, because these units all do have an elite version, as opposed to like the Three Kingdom civilizations. And the elite version, I believe, beats a paladin 1v1. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds crazy. They're a little bit cheaper than a knight, but an infantry unit beating a paladin 1v1, I believe, I guess the Teutonic Knight would be able to do that too, but still pretty crazy. And it's a unit that can be created from a barracks and from a monastery. I believe this civ is supposed to be like an arena civ, Hera. I believe they were designed to be an arena civ, right? Because you also have like the 50% gold discount, which means you don't have to get any golds to go up to Castle Age if you don't make blue.
They also have like the bonus where it makes their monks regain their faith 50% faster. 50% so yeah, faster, I think it is designed to be an arena civ. I don't think it's very good on arena though, because it's obviously way too early to tell, but it just feels like the stronger arena civs are like way stronger than it is. So I think it's a decent arena civ. It has what it needs. But I'm not really convinced all the way that it's going to be like competing with like the likes of Bohemians, Burgundians, and whatnot like that.
Interesting.
But I do agree with your assessment that it is designed to be an arena civ. But yeah, I like the fact, I will say this, I like the fact that we're now getting infantry that can hold their own. So like, I love that we have like Temple Guard that has really high stats. And it feels like a fair unit. Like I will say, some of the other units like the Bolas Rider, it feels unfair to play against. But the Temple Guard, it's a fair unit, but it's a strong unit. It holds its own. It costs a lot, so it's more of like a late game unit. It's not like a cheesy unit. And I like that design. I think it's very good. And I think infantry players will like it as well.
Okay, then for the 2P, maybe one of the worst offenders. I don't know. I'd like to hear your assessment. The Blackwood Archers.
Yes.
So these are guys that train in pairs. They're very, very cheap. And specifically with unique technology, they get this poison damage, which is basically just damage over time. I'm not even quite sure what's the difference between that and just ignoring armor, like Composite Bowman or Litus. I guess it just takes a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, you're losing the HP anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's the way it is. So Ideally, the trade-off is here that they have very, very low HP. They have only 20 HP, and I believe that's like the lowest HP for a human unit in Age of Empires 2. A villager without Loom has 25. So ideally, that would be the trade-off. But considering you can have so many of them, considering they have pretty quick fire rate too, does that make them broken? What has been your experience with the unit?
I actually love the design of the Blackwood Archer. So like,
Okay.
I think it's really cool to reward a player for being skillful. You give them 20 HP, but if you micro like a beast, you can like take advantage of their cheap production, their like high mass, and you can outplay your opponent. But if you make a mistake, you get hard punished. I love that design. I think having a unit like that makes a lot of sense. I don't think they're necessarily broken right now. I played against them a couple times. They feel strong but not broken, usable but not unfair to play against. The one thing right now, and it is a bug. I double checked this actually. I want to announce this to people, I guess now, just to put them at ease. So the Tube have this bonus that every time a unit dies, they get 15% of their cost back. The problem is you make 2 of these for the price of 1. So when you pay for 1, you get 2, and each individual unit gives you 15% back.
Okay.
You end up getting 30% back from every Blackwood Archer that dies, or every pair of Blackwood Archers that die. So that's what seems broken about them right now. Like you're just basically spamming them for 70% of the cost, assuming you're fighting and losing them. But that is indeed a glitch. They will, it's going to get hot fixed. They will give 7.5% each, so 15% for the pair. And I think once that comes out, the unit will actually be strong, but very, very fair. At least that's my initial assessment. Could definitely be wrong. And when Leary gets his hands on them, maybe it's like completely broken. Who knows? But so far with my uncans, that hasn't been doing too much.
Yeah, I've heard different things, right? So I've seen Ornlu tested, and in his testing, it came across as them not being too powerful. But then I heard Doubt say there's no counter to this. It's absolutely broken. Then again, Doubt has said that about
Doubt not having a counter to an archer unit, like
that's not unheard
makes a lot of
sense. So I'm curious to see how all that is going to play out. Okay, Hera, so despite all of this that we've talked about, we know that for the 3rd round of the Titans League, which starts today as we're recording, these Civs will be used. Does that make you feel uneasy about them, or you're confident that they're not going to break the balance completely of the tournaments and they're not going to taint the tournament by being too overpowered?
There's actually a lot of discussions in the player council about that. Personally, I don't mind them being used right away because I that fast. I'm playing, I can play all day if I want to. I'm full time. But the concerns are twofold. Number one, the players are given like no time to prepare for the DLC. Like they have like 3 days, and then the next round starts. So 3 days to practice all the new water balance, the new civs, the new units, everything, and then they have to play an S tier tournament round. So it's like insane timing from Microsoft's end. We've spoken with T90 and the admins there, and they also were like, they've been given this timeline. It's like they understand where we're coming from, but they don't know, like, it's hard for them to come up with a solution on the fly. And then the second problem, which I consider extremely problematic, Microsoft gives early access to players and streamers for them to produce content with the DLC to sell more DLC. So there are players in this tournament that have had a week extra to prepare with the new patch, the new water balance, the new civs, everything. That 1 week extra over players in a competitive S tier. And for me, the competitive integrity of the tournament is out the window because of that fact. Now, personally, I don't abuse it. I made one video and that's it. I don't think many others abused it because sportsmanship in the scene is next level high. But in theory, if you want to win this round of TTL, or to get an unfair advantage for the rest of the tournament, basically, you would have 1 week extra if you're a content creator over your opponents who are not a content creator in these S tier tournaments. So I think that is really problematic.
Totally true. My counter, or not a counter argument, but what I would say about that is even I have access to the early content, so I could have trained it. So, and my feeling is, if some of these players do feel like this is an injustice, they should definitely just contact Microsoft and get access to the early access program, because I'm pretty sure they would be given. So I don't know how much of that was tried and whether they were denied access, because that would be very problematic in my opinion.
No, I don't think there were any denied access. I just think that like most players don't really like care if they're not like content creators, but like for this one specifically, it mattered. I think there should have been a bit more effort on Microsoft's end to be like, yo, listen, we're going to give this to all the players. This is important that it's fair for everyone, just so like the players understand that, like, there is this on the table, and then if they then choose to not care, then that's fair enough. That's on the players' end. But
That's on them. Okay.
fair point on your end as well. From your perspective, just it being open to everyone, like whoever asks can in theory get it. You just have to like sign an NDA. If you're a prominent community member or pro player, you should get it. But that being said, some players don't have it. Some players did have it. But going back to your initial question, I think that the balance will not be that that changed. You still have your bans. You can always ban the 3 new civs, which is not ideal because then you're obviously down 3 bans. But like in the worst case scenario is that you're just down 3 bans and the game continues like normal. And then best case scenario, you ban 1, your opponent bans 1, and then there's 1 extra civ, or maybe there's 3 civs. You take turns picking them. It shouldn't affect the balance too much because on a variety of maps, I'm not sure that the new civs will always be the best on like multiple maps. I think they'll be the best on certain maps, but not really on all the maps. And I think we're going to see a lot of like the old classic power civs still in TTL.
Okay. So, as it's always the case, Hera, when a new DLC is released, I like to look at the sales and try to understand how the DLC is doing in terms of sales. And so I've gathered a few stats here, and I want to let viewers know, with the caveat, as always, that this is still very early, and there's a lot of speculation here. This is all incomplete data, but I love speculating about this kind of crap, and people can let me know if they think that I'm interpreting things wrong for sure. So we have 2 major metrics that allow us to somewhat try to understand how the DLC might be performing. One of them is like the current top seller list on Steam. And on that list, the DLC reached the highest, I believe, was 35 during the first day that it was released, which is pretty good. Not exceptional, but pretty good. And then the most important metric of all would be the weekly top 100 sellers list, which is published every Tuesday. And that means we still don't have access to that. So, but that one is very important because we right now have access to that list going back years. And so we can compare fairly how is this DLC going to perform compared to all the other DLCs, right? And so one thing that makes me a little bit worried is that right now, for all the DLCs produced by Forgotten Empires, every single DLC was able to break in that 100 weekly top sellers list. And this DLC, despite debuting at number 35, was out of the current top sellers list after 2 days. Oof. And so my question is that enough to still place in the top 100 weekly, which is going to be posted on Tuesday? I don't know. I confess to my ignorance here, but I'm a little bit worried that might be the case that they don't make it. And if they don't make it, that would be the first time ever that a Forgotten Empires DLC did not make it into the top 100 weekly sellers list. Chronicle DLCs also didn't make it. Victors and Vanquished also didn't make it, but those were not Forgotten Empires. So just something to keep in mind. And then, of course, there's also like the active number of people playing the game, which you can also see on Steam charts. And usually when a DLC is released, you see like a peak, like a massive peak. And in this case, we haven't seen that yet. But to be fair, the peak usually comes during the weekend. So I'm going to wait to see what happens during the weekend. And a peak of over 30,000 people would be good. And I'm expecting and hoping we're going to see that. Okay, so then there's the reviews here. And I think reviews are probably the least relevant, but at least in terms of trying to gather whether the DLC sold well or not. I mean, they're obviously relevant in trying to understand if the community is happy with the DLC or not. And very surprising to me, right now, this DLC is reviewed as the 4th worst out of 10 DLCs. It's sitting right now at 61%. And I mean, I'm not surprised that, for example, the Three Kingdoms is the 2nd worst with only 48% of positive reviews. And I'm not surprised in the sense that a lot of people complained about it. We've discussed this many, many times. Again, I don't think that reviews are an indication of how well the game is selling, but I think it is an indication of how the community is perceiving the DLC. So again, these are just very preliminary numbers. People can make them what they will. Again, if folks are interested in this, I'm very much waiting for that Tuesday list that it's going to come, which is the weekly 100 top sellers list. And I'm hoping that the DLC is going to break it. If not, could be an indication that things are not going all too well for this DLC. Again,
one thing that's interesting. Yeah, well, one thing that's interesting is that when the Three Kingdoms DLC came out and it had like the Chinese and Asian civs come out, we had I think Chinese and Taiwanese streamers playing it. And showcasing it to thousands of players, and the DLC sold like crazy in that region of the world. I'm curious to see if the same thing will happen with a South American region. the South American region has a ton of fans. Like, as you guys know, ever since I've come to Argentina, I currently live here. I got recognized on my first day in Argentina by a random guy at my hotel. And I get recognized so often here by just casual fans. There's a lot of casual Age of Empires 2 fans that know the community to a decent degree, enough to know me, enough to know like guys like Nacho and whatnot, right? So I'm wondering if the DLC has made a spark on that audience, and if it's gonna like boost the sales, or if maybe some streamers from that region of the world will start playing it, because there's a lot of really big content creators from South America, and mainly speaking Spanish. If any of those content creators pick up the DLC will go viral in that region for sure. It's almost a guarantee. It just hasn't happened yet. So I think that's kind of like a big thing that Microsoft was hoping for. In my opinion, Microsoft should actually reach out to those creators and give them early access. I'm not sure if they do that, but they should definitely do that. But fair enough. Hasn't happened. We'll see if it does happen. I think that's kind of like the selling point.
Very, very interesting point. I hadn't thought about it. Very interesting point. Yeah, you did see a lot of Chinese. I mean, again, the Three Kingdoms sold like crazy. We know this, and we can't expect every single DLC to be that crazy. All right, so I'd like to move on, and before we get Grubby in here, I'd like to take a look at the Titans League and update folks on what's going on there. Starting with the Silver League, the whole thing is actually almost done by now, and we already have 4 players who qualified to next season's Gold League. Those are Stark, Dr. Cosmonaut, Say My Name, and Neos. And the interesting thing from here, Hera, is that 3 of these guys have been pros or semi-pros for years and years. And then you have Neos, a 20-year-old French guy, a little bit of prodigy maybe if you want to say. Have you played against him? Do you have a feeling for the potential that's maybe there?
It's hard to say because I don't really know. Like, I haven't played much with or against him, just a couple times here and there. He seems like a solid player, but I don't know if there's anything that separates him from the others. We'll see as far as potential goes. Obviously, if he's a young guy playing well, then obviously there's more potential than what Kapach has. Just as a comparison. But But we'll see. I know I talk with Hart a lot, and this word potential is like he doesn't like this word potential because he says you either make it or you don't. There's no like promise of making it. Like, yeah, there's promise for, like, Lewis has promised to make a lot of things, hasn't been doing much. So it's like you either make it or you don't at the end of the day. But if he's qualifying to Gold League, he's in a good position. He's doing well. So let's see what he can do. I think that if he's a young guy playing well, then there's definitely some potential there. And congrats to him for qualifying.
Fair enough. Okay, so then there are 4 playoffs left to play in the Silver League. They will happen on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so if you guys are interested, you can tune into that. Then in the Gold League, we only have 1 round left to play in the group stage. And looking at Group C, we have fan favorite Jordan completely dominating the group. His last round will be versus Ganji, who unfortunately hasn't won a single map yet. Now, the interesting thing there is that Jordan will come back to Germany. He's been in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. He will come back to Germany like 1 day before he plays his series, and he hasn't played Age of Empires in a long time, so a lot of things could happen there.
What's he doing in New Zealand? Is he just on vacation?
I'm not entirely sure. I believe his girlfriend is there, and he loves New Zealand. Or I believe he loves Lord of the Rings, and because a lot of it was shot in New Zealand, he's like visiting all the places and
that's so cool. Like that. I love that. I would want to do that once as well.
Yeah,
as a Lord of the Rings fan myself. That's really cool.
Okay, so then in Group B, we have another fan favorite, Doubt, who's also very well positioned to finish first and thus guaranteeing his promotion to Platinum League. He's tied with Sorakuma for first, and he will play Sorakuma in the last round. So that's a series that does promise to be quite a bit of a banger. Maybe I should cover it, Hera. Right? It's going to be cool, I think.
I've told myself I'm a bit of an elitist. I don't cover the Gold League. I only cover the Platinum League. But listen, I might make an exception for Doubt. Listen, one thing I like about the Gold League is that it gives Doubt the illusion that he's won something, and that hasn't happened in years. So I honestly, if there's nothing good that comes out of Gold League besides this, I'd say it's good. It's a good tournament. Yeah, I might cover it.
For the record, I have been casting quite a bit of these games early in the morning European time. If folks are interested and would like to tune in. Then in Group A, I've been giving it a crack, having a good time and all that.
That's solid. That's good.
Yeah, there you go. In Group A, Prisma has won all of his series so far and sits comfortably in first place. And then Classic Pro is leading Group D ahead of Casva. Then last but not least, the Platinum League. It's still pretty early days in the Platinum League as we're recording. As we're recording right now, this is only the 3rd round that it's about to start today. Hera is leading Group B with 2 3-0 victories and will now play Hart, who is second in the group. Then we have Leary with also a pretty clean record here. has won both of his series in Group A, and then ACCM and Sebastian are first in Group C, and Group D, that's probably where the only surprises sort of happened, with Viper not winning his first series against Vivi, but then did have a pretty strong showing against Dark in the second round. So Hera, you've been casting all of these games. Has anyone surprised you so far? Positively or negatively in the Titans League
actually,
Platinum?
one player in particular, even though he's like bottom of his group, which is unfortunate, but no, it's Dragonstar. He's 5th place with a 0-2 record. Very impressive, I know. But no, if you watch the games, in my opinion, if you watch the games, he should be like 4-2 instead of 0-2, or instead of 2-4. So he's 2-4 right now. He should be 4-2. I think he should have won so many of his games against both Sito and Vivi in the first 2 rounds. So I think Dragonstar played some really fun strats, but he just failed some execution things that were like through games, which really shouldn't have happened. But he'll gain experience from that. So he's been like the player that really impressed me so far. And then Lewis is another one that I think has been performing well, not exceptional, but quite well. Took a game off ACCM, and he played pretty well in that series as well. So I think those 2 names felt pretty solid to me.
Right.
Out of the usual, obviously you have Leary and myself doing pretty well, but the unusual names are probably Dragonstar and Lewis so far.
Interesting. So 2 names to keep track of, for sure. All right, boys, this was it for the first part of the show. We'll now set up our call with Grubby, get him in here, so don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back, and we're now joined by Grubby. Grubby, thank you so much for taking the time, and welcome back to the Town Center.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me back. It's been a long time since I was last on. I almost forgot. It's
Almost
only when I
2
saw
years.
you. Yeah, almost 2 years. It's when I saw you on webcam. I remembered it again, but it seems like a different life almost.
Yeah, listen, my beauty is unforgettable. It's my takeaway from that sentence. Right?
Actually, I have a very blurry image of you. So.
Come on. Did you have to say that? It was so beautiful up until that moment. No, fair enough, fair enough. All right, listen, Grubby. Last time we spoke, and again, that was almost 2 years ago. That was actually episode number 14. I went back and checked. You spoke about what made Age of Empires 2 a great game, and you said like the macro aspect of it, with the build orders and villager allocation really mattering and all those things. Then I think you also talked about like the big battles, with lots of units that really makes you feel like you're like, I don't know, leading an empire or stuff like that. But you also spoke about the negatives. And if I remember correctly, you spoke about the UI, like the user interface being a little bit not as intuitive as it could be, hotkeys not being very intuitive either. And you also said like the commands didn't feel as responsive and crispy as games you're used to, like StarCraft 2, for example. So from that moment until today, you now have, I checked, 200 ranked games under your belt. So I do wonder how, and if at all, your opinion of Age of Empires 2 has evolved. Are you having more fun with the game? Or the more you play, the more you notice those little annoyances that you spoke about before?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the pod, and I love jumping into the matter. I have a different mindset this time around than last time. First of all, I was going to accept, because Hera invited me to the Showmatch, and I take such things seriously, just like all my teammates, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yes, we will.
I started playing, and I have a purpose now. Hera has given me purpose in life. Right?
Love that.
Yeah, so I'm playing. Last time it was like, let's check out the game of my new friend, the Viper. Let's see what his home game is, and I'll show him my home game. And secretly, I was hoping he would stick longer with my home game. And I had fun with Age of Empires 2, and I could see its brilliance. But I really struggled with those UI mechanics, and I try to always grow in life with my mindset on things and be a bit more open-minded. And I'm happy to say that I do think I've become more open-minded as the years went on. And things that I used to think are impossible or untenable, I no longer view them as such as playing World of Warcraft or getting over the UI issues with Age of Empires 2. Now, let's summarize real quick what issues I had. My town center always seems to magnetically rally to the enemy base, even though I'm pretty sure I don't give that command. All right, I tell my scout to go behind. That's a bug, right?
Yeah, that's a
right.
Bug.
Thank you.
You're not crazy, but you feel crazy because you don't know how it happened or when it happened. It's just that your rally point is behind the opponent's base with like 10 villagers flooding towards that. But yeah, that is a bug that I think they're only now tracking. So it's been years, of course.
Yeah, and when you try to explain such things to chat, a lot of people, they don't have the issue because they're not that fast or not that discerning or not that experienced or they don't care or they've already instinctively ironed it out of their play without even knowing how. So they can't explain it because they're not professional explainers. They just are a fan of a game. They love watching the game, and that is totally fine. And this problem is still happening to me, by the way. But I'm trying to problem solve and troubleshoot why it's happening. And also, I figured I'll just tower rush everyone.
The ultimate solution.
Filter forward. Let's use them. Yeah, I like it.
So I'm not naturally a cheesy person, but I have no choice but to cheese because my villagers are already there and I'm trying to save the game. So don't be mad if you get towered by me on the ladder. It's it's all because of a bug.
Okay, so are you having more fun with the game? Is it more fun? Do you know? Okay.
Just 5 days ago, I got really tilted with the game, and I said, I'll never be able to micro like this. The archer micro, I'll have like 10 archers against some enemy with 10 archers, and I lose all 10 without killing any. That my ego takes a big hit. I feel embarrassed, ashamed. I feel outskilled, gapped, youth gapped, skill gap, whatever, knowledge gapped. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm only going to play melee from now on. And then at the end of the stream, I did something apparently uncharacteristic, and I asked my chat, what are the keystrokes required to micro like that? And it turns out it was just a couple of clicks away. Because I was still microing like a Blizzard player. I will walk away with a right click with my whole army on aggressive stance, and then I'll A move either towards them or away from them. In Blizzard games, it doesn't matter. The moment you A left click, your whole army re-engages and attacks the nearest target. And sometimes that's good enough if you're not right-clicking with finesse, with precision, like Hera would, of course, to kill specifically that unit at that time and then move away. You just A-click. And it may not be ideal, but at least your army is fighting. Not so here. Here, if you A-click, your army is like, and a 1, and a 2, and then you shoot. You know what I'm talking about?
100%. I think that's one of the frustrations that still gets me to this day. But like me being a pro, it just means that I've got more hours of dealing with those kind of shenanigans. I wish they weren't there. But seeing you come from like other RTSs with tons of experience, coming here trying to do the same things you do in other games, not being able to do it is such a big problem. But I'm happy you're finding like a workaround. And this is why, personally, I right-click because it's the only thing that I know exactly what my units are going to do. The A-clicking, the patrolling, there's always things that they do that are not intended. What gets me is the little twirl they do. Not even like the two-step, it's the little twirl where they start like really going crazy. And that's something that, really bothers me. And I will say, I was watching your stream once. I was watching it a lot, actually. First of all, I want to give you a lot of props for the rapid improvement. Like, this is phenomenal improvement. You went from like 1,000 to 1,400 now, which is crazy in such a short amount of time. So props to you for that. But you were saying something like, here, look at Warcraft 3. Look, my units, I tell them to do something and then they just do it. And and that like comparison of like War 3 to Age of Empires 2, in my opinion, is kind of what brings shame to Age of Empires, just units not paying attention to things. But there are workarounds, and I'm happy if you're able to find certain things, to work around these issues, you'll have a better time with the game for sure.
Interesting.
I have a lot to say about what you just said. Firstly, the workaround that I found was my chat told me use hold ground, stand your ground, so that they don't do any illegal movements by themselves, and you're in full control. And then right-click somewhere to move, and then press S for stop. And then they do fire immediately.
Yeah.
And that's getting the behavior that actually I wanted outside of the extreme speed and accuracy finesse of specifically right-clicking an enemy unit, which, to be fair, also works. But AoE 2 units are really, really small. So they're harder to click than Warcraft 3 units. I have found something that works better, and I'm having a lot more fun with Archer Micro now. But you mentioned the shame of the attack move and the patrol move not exactly working, and units doing a little dance before. I think SC2 is the best RTS engine ever made, but I don't think it has only the best impact and consequences for the game. because the units are so smart and do exactly what you tell them to, there's very little problem solving in micromanagement. I know it almost sounds like making an excuse for things being worse and more difficult, and therefore being able to suffer and rise above it in a very inspirational Rocky Balboa kind of way. But it's not entirely wrong too. A lot of the value that we place upon human skill, human art, human creativity is by working with a given situation. Like, oh, I spilled paint all over my painting. Now, how do I turn that into a beautiful tree and landscape, right? Which is more beautiful than this generated AI art that I just made here off screen, right?
Yeah.
Because of the human suffering component. So finding ways to work with the engine of the time, with whatever improvements have been made or devolvements. I don't know how the remasters have gone. Has there been anything gotten worse?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Right? So I think that's okay and can still make for a beautiful experience. And I think the micro in AoE2 is a lot of the fun. Even something that principally 10-year younger me would not have accepted. Just the fact that projectiles can miss from archers, which in Blizzard games they do not. Dragoons do not miss, I think, except uphill. Archers in Warcraft 3 do not miss. SC2 Marines do not miss.
AoE4,
in fact,
AoE4
doesn't miss
misses.
either. Right. So there is an RNG in that, but also there's a skill expression. And I think AoE2 fans, which I am now as well, find a beauty in the AoE2's micro skill expression in the same way that Warcraft 3 players find their quirky little micro moments beautiful. The surrounds, the body blocks, just the quirky movement. And there's one more thing you said. You think some of these engine artifacts, Hera, you said it brings shame upon the. I know you probably didn't mean that, like actually I don't know, but when I honestly look at Warcraft 3 through the eyes of a new player, I can find lots of things like that as well. Even if a few years ago I may have said game is perfect, everything as it should be. I'll just name an example. If you have a group of flying units and you attack an enemy building that's visible but currently in the fog of war, they'll do like a 2-second pause. They just won't go. So every Warcraft 3 player instinctively knows, doesn't even think of it as an issue, that you should click next to the building and then check in on it later when you get there. Or they won't listen. Whereas for ground units, they will go immediately. Why it is that way? I thought Warcraft 3 was perfect. I thought everything as it should be. Like, is that a good thing? Probably not, right?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. Yeah, that a lot of things that are actually shortcomings, you just turn it into something that makes the game unique. That's very often in a lot of these old games.
It kind of raises the ceiling of the game, if anything. Like you were saying, Grubby, it's like, I know there's this issue. I'm a pro player. I have to like min-max this issue to a point where I can get the most amount out of it compared to my opponent. And I'm kind of on the boat of, I like the fact that archers miss as well. I've played A before where they don't miss, and I've played Age of Empires 2 extensively, of course. And for me, the missing is really cool because it leads to like crazy outplays. And like, I think having tournaments where you have like a guy with less archers that can outplay his opponent with more archers, that just makes for an epic moment, especially when you factor in like Mangonels versus archers and stuff like that. Those are some of the coolest moments of Age of Empires tournaments. So I love that personally. But yeah, definitely see what you're saying about that.
And the game is balanced around that too, right? You have units that miss more, you have units that miss less. So I think it's also a very, very interesting aspect of the game. Okay, so Grubby, you've noticed, obviously, that we've now just recently had a new DLC that brings through new civilizations with it. And I love to hear, your opinion as someone who's incredibly experienced in the industry, in the genre. But this is the model that Microsoft has found for our game. If you want to have a game that keeps getting patches, keeps getting maintenance, you have to find a way to finance all of that thing. And so the way that they found is that they usually bring 1 or 2 DLCs a year. Each DLC brings new civilizations, new campaigns, and all of that. Now, from the multiplayer crowd, which is part of the community that me and Hera sort of come from mostly, you hear very often this critique that it's just too many new civilizations. We now have 53 new civilizations. This is just way too much to keep in mind. It's going to make it impossible for new players. I believe the feeling of the single players, which again are the majority of player base, is very different. But I'd like to focus on this critique. What do you make of it? Do you see it? Do you have a better alternative model to finance all this maintenance and all this balancing?
Yeah, I think once or twice a year, you should be able to spend money to remove 3 civs That way it balances out. Which ones would you remove, guys?
I think the humans would be out of the game like 3 years ago if I had that option.
well, the humans, they can feudal expand, and they had some kind of tower rush or not? A ram rush. I saw you ram rush.
The ram rush, yeah. That's the fun part actually. But the 2 town center, that's just absolute AIDS for me. Like you're playing a game and your opponent has the option to 2 town center feudal. It makes the game so like one-dimensional. But that's just like pro player grievances, to be honest. It's like really not that big of a deal, but for me it just bugs me.
And by one-dimensional you mean the other guy has to all in feudal?
Yeah, exactly. He decides what I have to do. Like if my opponent's humans, he makes a second town center, I have to all in immediately, and nothing else works. It's crazy.
I'd love to pick your brain later then about Warcraft 3, because I think in Warcraft 3 this situation occurs quite a bit.
A lot.
I know I know some chatters have expressed your interest in trying Warcraft 3 sometime. Maybe if I organize something, and I keep that in mind. If the answer is still yes, right?
The answer is 100% yes. I'll tell you why. I have never been coached in any game with a goal of becoming better. I'm not even sure if I can do that. Maybe I'm just a one-hit wonder with Age of Empires. I have no idea. I want to
one-hit wonder. I love that.
I want to try my luck or like try my skill, like test myself in another game and see if I can actually become a good player. Obviously not a pro. My youth is gone, but I want to see if I can become a high-level, high-ranked player or like a respectable player in another game. And especially, I want to see how I respond to being coached by a pro. So for me, those are like.
Do you think you're coachable?
I think I'm extremely coachable, but I want to put that to the test because when I'm coaching others, I'm like.
Agree with that?
I think,
real question.
I think she thinks I'm a good listener, but she doesn't think that She thinks that I don't. I'm a bit lazy, but I listen well. I'm not good at communicating, but I'm a good listener. But yeah, I think that I am coachable, and I think when I coach people, I don't understand why they're not coachable, and so I want to become the coachee for a change and see, what the challenges are there. So that's a goal of mine.
Okay.
And I'll tell you for sure, I will do it at some point in my streaming career. And if there's an opportunity like a tournament or like a challenge that makes it like I have a goal, I'm gonna I know what to do. I would really dedicate my time to it. Like I wouldn't half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Cool. I still haven't answered your question. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. So going back to the question, monetization model, do you approve of it? Do you see problems with it?
I agree that. So I think it's good for content, for the spirit of the laws of this world. I think it's good for the Heras and Vipers of this world that there's new content. I think that's good for interest, for new players and for existing players. Is it difficult to keep track of how many Civs there are and what everyone does? Yes. We already have examples, precedents of games where that has gone way overboard as well. League of Legends with 170 champions or something. You think I know all of them? I only played for 3 months. I still don't know what all of them do.
Hey, you're talking with a quasi-expert here in the face of Hera. He's like I don't know an expert, but he's a league player.
I had Grandmaster in League. I'm still playing right now. Shit. I love the game. Yeah, wow. It's so much fun for me.
So when you said you've never tried being good at another game, you were underplaying things a little bit.
I don't consider Grandmaster that good. I think it's decent, but I think
of course, terrible, horrible.
I've because I did it in kind of a bad region, so like I don't consider myself that good of a League player. But I want to also give a try to RTS genre specifically. But yeah, I do know quite a bit about League. I actually love playing the game as well. It's a sensitive topic. It's very emotional.
I interrupt you, Grubby. Sorry. Keep going. We were talking about the monetization model and all that.
Yeah, I think it's healthy for everyone, and I think but new players will be scared of too many Civs argument. I don't think it's important enough with all the benefits that it offers. So I fully support them bringing out DLCs, and I'm ready for the next Warcraft 3 DLC as well.
Okay, cool. It's good to hear, actually. Now, Hera, one of the reasons that Grubby is grinding the game like crazy is because you've decided to organize a 1v7 show match between you and, I believe, 7 Dota 2 players, Grubby being one of them. So where did this idea come from, and when did you start organizing it?
So it came from a viewer of mine, actually, and then he was like kind of part of the Dota community. He put me in contact with like Wagamama TV, like a legend in the Dota 2 space, thinking more of a caster now. And then he also put me in touch with a pro player, Stormstormer. I spoke with them. Then we started brainstorming, getting all kinds of Dota 2 players in there. And it's crazy that we landed Grubby. Like, out of all the things we've accomplished, we just kind of narrowed you down to being a Dota 2 player. But you will be a Dota 2 player for the show match. It's just the way it goes. I need to address that because we have like Day 9 TV, Sing Sing, like people that are known for like so many different things. But like for that show match, it's going to be Dota 2. And I think that's going to be really cool to kind of merge the Dota 2 audiences with the Age of Empires 2 audience, because I think there's a lot of overlap actually.
Yeah.
It came from a viewer, but we ran with the idea, and the lineup we got is absolutely insane. Like, I'm so happy with the amount of people we have that are like, top of the field in either like pro play Dota or in streaming, and I'm really excited for the match. I think it's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you just recently had one video, Hera, a 1v7, and I saw that Grubby actually watched it, and I think there was a reaction video from Grubby. And that 1v7 video is doing amazing on your YouTube channel. It's right now almost 100,000 views. Unbelievable. And I also wonder, and I'd like to hear your assessment here, Grubby, what makes these sort of videos so appealing? Because I saw you watching and you yourself, you were blown away. Because, how is Hera doing all of this? What about these videos seems to be more appealing than, I don't know, a Hera versus Viper final in an STO tournament, for example?
Well, I think the golden age of esports was between 2000 and 2012, maybe, especially for strategy esports. And while I'm still very happy that many niche esports scenes continue to persevere and have content, and I think there will always be a demand for it, at some level, we have seen this kind of skill before. This is not to downplay what's happening. I still happily look at top Warcraft 3 esports, top AoE 2 esports. Like, I'll watch a Moon versus Lin game any day. But there is a sense of sameness. And it's not the fault of the developers. It's not the fault of the players. It's just the fault of humans want to optimize things. And so you're going to do whatever is best. And I think because it is like this for top esports, I think there will be always a desire to see something that deviates from the normal, which means either you're going to force off-meta things by banning optimized strategies, or you're going to allow for off-meta because the players are so bad and because they don't know what the meta is. And so I think there is an entertainment product in showing things that aren't specifically top versus top. And you often get that with streamers against each other in games that they may not be as comfortable with. I think this is a very fun development that we're seeing in the last few years, where you have like streamer versus streamer battles. That's not to say streamer versus non-streamer can't be fun. It's just nice when you can follow the progress from both players. If you take a random person from Hera's chat and you give him a good microphone with a good setup and a good webcam, I'm sure that'll make for a very entertaining game to watch as well. I would watch that, like see how they get by.
100%, yep. Mm-hmm.
And if they're experienced in expressing their thoughts. At the end of the day, though, it's usually streamers that we are normal people, right? We are that guy in Hera's chat because I watched this stream too, but we already have the webcam and the mic set up. And so you can just kind of see it from every side, low-level play, slowly evolving, and then have something unique happen, like this 1v7 show match with 7 Dota pros. Or 7 Dota Immortal players.
That's such a fantastic point, Grubby. I love it. Do you feel like the same thing applies to regular sports, though? And if not, why not? I mean, football has been the same for years and years. So
I think we are seeing that in regular sports. I think we're seeing that way more in regular sports. Every father and mother that take their kids to football practice get to see terrible football, right? Yeah. It's already there.
but also there's like influencer football leagues now as well, where they have like lower level players or like washed pros. Like, they bring on like some old pro who's washed. They play like 3v3, 4v4 indoor football. They stream it on Twitch and it gets like hundreds of thousands of views. Like, it's actually really popular. So I think this concept of bringing people that are past their prime or like playing some kind of like spin-off of a game, not like the meta, like the pro versus pro, which to your point, Grubby, is like exactly in football. Like, the football meta is pretty stale. It's a lot of like passing and ball control. But if you put them in like a different environment, players from all different skill levels, all of a sudden that's vastly more entertaining and it keeps things fresh. And I think that's like very interesting. We're seeing that in regular sports and we're seeing it in esports.
Well, I think it also raises the appetite for actual high-level play after that.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Where you've seen like, this is how the regular person struggles, and now let's watch Hera.
Yeah, exactly. Like you see like the average person how they're playing, and then you're curious all of a sudden how is the pro playing, and like now you know the difference. If you just see the pro right away, you're like, okay, this doesn't look impressive, or this looks like too complicated. I'm just gonna lose interest. And I think one thing that about like the 1v7s that does so well, or like the 1v4s or whatnot, is that it gives this element of relatability. If it's me versus Viper, you're kind of sitting there as a viewer thinking like, I don't know if this is good or not. I'm just kind of a casual viewer. I need the commentary to understand what's going on. But all of a sudden, you have like 4 players that are 1,000 elo. You know what a 1,000 elo player is. Most people are 1,000 elo or have been 1,000 elo. So you understand what he's working with, and you understand like what's at stake. And despite that, you still don't know who's going to win. I think that is really what makes it so interesting.
Such a good point.
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, I love it.
Maybe that's why Hidden Cup is so successful, right? Because it throws off this thing of knowing who's playing against who, and you have no clue. That's maybe the one thing that makes Hidden Cup in Age of Empires 2 such a phenomenon, and why it does so well. Such great points from both of you guys. All right, Grubby, how happy are you with the progress of your teammates? Because obviously you've been practicing a lot of Age of Empires 2. So how confident are you they're going to be able to beat Hera?
I have full confidence in all of my teammates' ability to secretly prepare to the best of their capabilities, wishes, and time schedules.
I think secretly is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. It might be like extremely secret, maybe non-existent.
I'm so impressed by their dedication to keep their practice secret. Here I am being a shill and selling my practice on Twitch, but they're actually... Yeah. They're hiding their strats. I have the utmost respect for it.
Yeah, if anything, Grubby, you're like very unprofessional. Like you should be taking this more seriously, playing off stream, boot camping with them. It's quite a shame that you're just broadcasting to everyone.
I genuinely thought we're going to make a Discord group like 2 weeks ago and discuss what's the best way to tackle this. But I think we're probably going to discuss that 5 minutes into the game. So
yeah,
let's see how it goes. Well, the thing is, I held 2 Warcraft 3 tournaments last year, one in March in 2025, one in April, and both were won by a Dota 2 player. So when I heard 7 Dota Immortal players, me being one of them, I thought it's in the bag. But that's before I knew that the arbiter of who decides what handicaps are fair is Hera himself. What's up with that?
Yeah, so I have to address this point. It's like this is definitely something that's going to put me under some fire. So it's 7 Dota 2 players, one of me, and then one of me in another form, which is the referee. So it's going to be like me, the player, me, the ref. But listen, I've done this a lot, and I've got the utmost integrity when it comes to being a referee. This is how it's going to be. The first game, I will have extra pop by default. I always have 500 pop. You guys have 200 times 7. No complaints, please. It's 1,400 to 500. That's in your favor, all right? I know some of them is for like a guy who's never touched the game, but that's besides the point. So that's going to be game 1. Now, based on who wins game 1, I would say the odds are going to be specifically or like heavily in your favor. And that's actually specifically because you've been practicing. If you haven't practiced, I think the first game would actually be in my favor. Since you're practicing, I think you're going to be able to carry and coach your team or at least hold it down yourself. So I think game 1 is in your favor. Based on how game 1 goes, I would get some extra handicap to give me advantage in game 2. And then in game 3, if I win game 2, then game 3, I lower my handicap back to a middle ground. And so there should be no excuses as far as like who wins the best of 3. That's the way I see it, because we're going to have one game in your favor, one game in my favor, and then one game down the middle. And that should be really exciting for the viewers as well, because you don't know who's going to win every game. And I think that should be cool. You guys picked the map, by the way. You guys picked map in every game.
But you can't go up to 150% in game 2, can you?
No. It's going to be something like 120 max, probably.
Because I saw the 150. That's a very powerful advantage in your hands.
Yeah, I was beating players that are like 2,000 elo, 1,400, 1,500. Like that's crazy. Yeah. Like it's going to be like, I would say 110 to 120, depending on how game 1 goes. But like, I'm not going to cheese you guys and bring out 200% handicap or anything like that. It's going to be some small increments, and then leaving space for that middle ground in case I do win game 2. I want it to be like a 2-3 game show match. I think that would be really cool for the video as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. I think it'll be very exciting.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's important to reveal the dates. So the whole thing is going to happen on the 24th, I believe, of February, Hera. What time is it going to be?
At 18 GMT. I'm hoping we can all live stream it, or at least like the people that are live streamers amongst us. And then, of course, if you missed it, don't worry. We're going to have a YouTube video, at least on my channel. I don't know if Grubby will make something as well. And it would be like kind of a recap. But try to be there live 24th of February, 18 GMT. It's going to be a great event. And the more people live, the more entertaining. So let's do it.
Gonna be wild. Gonna be wild. Grubby, of course, you're no stranger to trying to organize big events with lots of different streamers. Recently, we had, I don't remember, unfortunately, what you called it. Was it the Streamer Showdown, something like that? Where you have a lot of RTS streamers coming together to try Warcraft 3, and you would coach them. We had Viper from our community participating. I believe T90 was supposed to be there at first. So, how big of a deal is organizing something like this? How much work is it? How early do you need to start organizing something like this?
Well, I think I experienced that event from so I helped the OnlyFans Invitational, and then the one that I called the Second Streamer Invitational, where I no longer use that brand because I didn't meet the people through Soda Popping's OnlyFans WoW event, right? So these were the two events, and I think I basically had two hats on. One was where I'm the organizer and I put the event together, but I did get a lot of help from my moderators, so it wasn't made a lot better. One guy was controlling the camera. Several people were like shepherding the players, the streamers, which can be quite helpful. And so I definitely didn't do it alone. Would not be able to do it alone. But the second capacity in which I did those events was as a coach. And I don't know if it's like my suspected ADHD or my interest in the event or whatever, but like I didn't have any off switch during those weeks. So I would wake up, turn on any one of their streams, take notes on how I could coach them later that evening. I would coach 2-3 people a night, 21 days in a row before the event. And
Crazy.
I would listen to their streams before my stream, after my stream. And while I'm gardening, I would have it on the headset and then give them a call via Discord if they couldn't figure out why Chimera like this, like that.
Wow.
So it was pretty intense for me, probably not very healthy or balanced, but I would do it again. But it definitely
Classic.
It kind of pressed delete on every other part of life for like more than a month. So how is that? That was pretty intense. You don't have to do it like how I did it if you want to organize something like that. I do think it's a lot of fun. I think it's very gratifying, very emotionally rewarding as well. And what I think is really cool about it is we all know about stream sponsorships, right? Like where you get sponsored to play a game and you may genuinely like it. It may end up not being an amazing fit. You get paid for your time and they get a lot of ad impressions, the client. And that's fine. That's a great system that benefits everyone. Obviously, the fans would sometimes rather see something else, but at the end of the day, they're there to support and they watch it because they know you're getting a small bag for that, and it's all good. But for these streamer invitationals, it's always based on friendship, goodwill, reciprocity, etc. We're not getting paid to play in an event like that. Some people may have time to practice for 3 weeks. Other people, they may have other content pipeline that they have, and I totally respect that, all jokes aside. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to show up, hopefully. Everyone's going to show up, and they're doing it for each other, and they're doing it to make good content together, and they're doing it because it's fun, and they're passionate about it. And I think that's the thing that really shines through, because no one would be able to afford the rates of hiring someone to practice for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But if you look for like the event that I held, and I'm sure Hera would take it equally seriously if I invited him for a future one, which would be awesome. People give their time, they sink in their effort to practice that game hard, and pretty much everyone like put in that time, even if initially they thought it's going to be more relaxed when they see everyone else practicing. At least for my events, they also jumped on the practice because of that competitiveness, because of the desire to show up and do the best you. And no one is expecting pro plays from me or my teammates for this Hera show match. No one is expecting that from the Warcraft tourneys that I held. But at the end of the day, it's people's best efforts. I think that's beautiful. I think people like seeing that kind of passion where people voluntarily devote themselves to something like that, if for no other reason than to show what they can do with the time that's given to them.
Like I was not part of the tournament back then, but I was actually a viewer because I was following Viper and at T90 at first, his progress and whatnot, because I wanted to support the AV2 guys, of course. But what I found fascinating is that you actually took the time to coach them. I think that was an integral part of it, because if you just make a tournament and then they show up with all kinds of skill levels, I don't feel like I'm that invested as a fan. But seeing you coach them day in, day out, and as a casual fan, I know nothing about Warcraft 3. I was tuning in. Like I found myself tuning into the streams, seeing what's going on, seeing people's progress. That made it so much more enticing as a viewer, because I'm now seeing people get better. I'm seeing the progress, and I'm now going to see when the tournament rolls around. I'm like, oh, this guy worked on this, and this. Is he going to perform? I have like some baseline to work on, and that made it so so enticing as a viewer, so exciting to watch. So I think that part is absolutely integral to making a successful streamer event. And I will comment on the monetization part of it. I think, obviously no one can afford the rates. That's very, very true. But I think if people invest the time and take it seriously, there's a real opportunity for the collaborations to drive viewership higher on every person's channel. And just off ad revenue alone from having people watching, you can actually make that worth your time. But I think it's important to actually take it seriously and be passionate about it, because you're not just working 9 to 5. You're not going to run the hours. You got to be entertaining. You got to be into it. If done correctly, though, I think it's going to be, if not lucrative, at least passable or decent for every streamer involved. And I think that's definitely something that could be done correctly if people are invested into it correctly.
Well, there's a very obvious follow-up here, Hera. I mean, with your penchant for content creator, if we're talking about emulating this event in our scene, I can only see you doing it. So has it ever crossed your mind doing something like this, where you coach a ton of streamers and then they all play an Age of Empires 2 tournament?
I have to say that I wanted to do this idea actually like 3 or 4 years ago, copying the PogChamps event for the chess. I thought that was phenomenal. But I will say, Grubby showed a really good example of that as well in more recent times. And I'd be very interested in doing something similar for AoE2. But I do want to ask you, Grubby, how invasive would it be if I just came out with a similar concept to you? Would you take offense to that I'm just like kind of ripping off something that you've done, or it's totally cool?
No, you can rip it off much as you like. Yeah, no.
Okay,
I think
as long as you invite him here. As long as you invite him.
He would be on the top of the list.
I mean, you're going to come up with a theme, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's nice to have a theme. For my part, you're very welcome to go with the exact same, similar, or inspired. I think that's a great thing. I think one thing that I hope that people take away from this kind of crossover is that RTS games, the best ones that will exist in the next 20 years, I think they're already out.
Yeah.
Maybe that's wrong. I don't think it is a bleak POV on it. I think it is a testament to how good these games are. Warcraft 3, SE2, SE1, AoE2, AoE4. I think these are great. Now, are there other RTS games that are awesome in the world? Absolutely. Tempest Rising, The Scouring, Manor Lords. They're RTS games, but they're not in the same genre as the games that we have here. Like multiplayer competitive games that were made in the golden age with an idea of being balanced and competitive while still being, of course, fun and accessible. I would like all these scenes to, if possible, and I know I'm probably not going to make a huge difference, but maybe a little bit. I would like it if they congratulated each other and each other's successes and the beauty of the other game. And it doesn't have to be my game's better than yours, or this game is better than that one, or that game is bad because it's not this one. I think it's nice to co-appreciate, to cross-appreciate. And if I think AoE2 will look great to people if you were to do a similar event. And just don't hold it at the same time as mine. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. No, that's totally fine.
Let's talk.
Let's communicate. We'll make it solid. But that's good. That's very motivating, actually. So I'd love to host something like that. It's going to be obviously very challenging on my end. I've never done something like it, but I'll take a lot of inspiration, of course, and try my best at it. But to your point, I 100% agree. I hate the comparisons of don't play AoE4. You have to play AoE2. Don't look at Warcraft 3. It's only my game that matters, and it's way better and way healthier to just have all the RTS genres that are, the games are so similar, to just like work together, or not even work together, but like coexist peacefully, let's say, amongst fans and creators. So I'd like to see more collaboration, and I'd love to bring something to the table myself for Age of Empires 2. So we'll talk.
Me too. And also, that doesn't mean that someone has an invalid opinion when they say, I prefer AoE2 over Warcraft 3, or I prefer AoE2 over AoE4. These are fine, right? People want to watch their favorite content, and if that happens to be you playing AoE2 as opposed to you playing AoE4, I get it, right? But I don't want to make all my content about doing comparisons between the games that I'm playing, because there's so much more to talk about. When I'm in this game, I want to talk about this one. When I'm in that one, about that one. Maybe comparisons when they're interesting, but not who's better all the time. Because if anyone is playing any game, and that could be Random Joe from chat that's playing a game and then someone else is playing B game, someone else playing C game, they're playing that game. Why? Because they want to play that game at the moment. That means in that second, that game is the best. It doesn't mean they prefer it over steak.
Mhm.
You can't eat steak all the time, or you'll be full. And you can also be full with interests. So sometimes this game, sometimes that. And it's not about which one's better. Right now, I want to play this one. So yeah, hope. I'm sure this will change it. No one will ever bring up.
You settled it.
rankings.
The discussion
You've tackled the issue. It's done now. That's great.
Got him.
All right, so I'm already salivating for an event like this in Age of Empires 2. All right, Grubby, we're quickly running out of time, but one thing I'd still like to ask you. This year, I don't know if it's for the first time, but in the Esports World Cup, there won't be any RTS title. I believe last year we did have StarCraft 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Is this reason for concern for all of the RTS fans around the world? Do you see this as reason for concern that we're getting even less and less popular than we were before? How do you see this situation?
I think we have to evolve. At the end of the day, I don't think good content has to come from major organizations, be it Turtle Entertainment, ESL, be it the EWC, the Esports World Cup. I don't think content has to come from there. When you look at big streamers like Ludwig, he started out as a streamer. Now he's running all kinds of events. Bro versus Bro. He's running sports events, esports. And of course, he is very talented and he's entertaining and so on. But at the end of the day, all streamers, we can do things in a very chill way, and that's fine. We can also put in more effort and try to elevate the type of show that we show a little bit more. And that's fine too. What gets views in the end is the best entertainment product. Yeah, sorry, I'm calling it a product. Normally, I never talk like this. At the end of the day, I don't know why I'm using this word, but at the end of the day, if you make it fun, people will watch. And if you do something that people have seen a million times before and it's not as fun, then eventually you may notice people will watch a little bit less, unless they think that's the comfortable thing or the fun thing to watch. There's probably a reason SC2 was dropped. I don't know if it is some kind of breakdown in communications with Blizzard or lack of interest from Blizzard/Microsoft, or if they just think it didn't get enough views, or maybe this is like play money that they're playing with, personal funds, and they're just choosing whatever they're interested in. At the end of the day, esports often is not directly profitable. It is a vessel of advertising for something else. And so if it is play money, hobby money from someone, some venture capital or some personal money, then it's going to be whatever they're interested in. That means it's not professionally sustainable already. It was just there because someone up there decided it's going to be there. But individual streamers can choose to try and elevate the content and do something special. And if SC2 is not being held by the EWC, then maybe somebody else can step up and do a cool event that people will watch, and that will either succeed or fail, and it'll be based on how well it's advertised and how much fun it is. So I urge everyone that likes their favorite game to have content, if you are active in that scene, to think of something that you think people might want to watch. And the one thing you can't do is to ask what people want to watch. They never know until you show it.
Awesome. I love that.
I rarely say this, but that was like, I agree with every word you just said. That was one of the best answers to that question I think we can possibly have. 100% agree. Straight to the camera. No, but that was 100% agree with that. That was top tier answer.
Right. So I feel like that's the perfect moment to close this off then. Grubby, man, the time went by so fast. This was so fun. I thank you so much for all your insights. Thank you so much for taking the time to joining us here. And listen, I hope after this 1v7, you'll keep playing some AoE too, huh? How about that?
I think I will. And then I'll finally be ready for my Hera coaching, because I didn't want to accept any before the show match, because I wanted to see how far I could get by myself.
Would be cheating, yeah.
But I think it'd be fun if you'd be down sometime.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll make it happen, especially leading up to my event, my Grubby Warcraft 3/AoE2 event. We'll make it happen. I think it's gonna be fun to coach you and see how far we can actually take you with some coaching. Or maybe I'll take you down. We'll see. Like maybe you'll start regressing with the coaching.
It has happened before.
All right, boys, this was awesome. And to all of you at home, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, you know what you have to do. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. And we'll be back very soon. See you next time.
Take care, guys.